thanks to big gains in the U.S. stock market. And there were a lot more gains today on Wall Street. The Dow up 190 points thanks to shares of banks and energy companies. The Nasdaq, though, down 28. That's on slumping shares of Apple, which hurt the tech sector on weak iPhone sales. Amazon now reportedly plans to build 2 second headquarters, not just one, creating 25,000 jobs at each location. Crystal City, Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C., appears to be a lock for one of the sites. Amazon also offering free shipping on every order for the holidays. No minimum purchase. You don't have to be a Prime subscriber. FedEx is hiking shipping rates again in January, and Lowe's will close down 20 underperforming U.S. stores. Tom Busby, CNBC.
Not many things scare me, kid. Vampires, werewolves, children, not one bit. But you know what does scare me? Downtime, inefficiency, scares the living daylights out of me. That's why I use Grainger. They're America's #1 source for industrial supplies. Plus, they've got the inventory management solutions that keep us running. So we've got uptime, we've got efficiency, we've got productivity. When it comes to keeping your facility running, Grainger's got your back. Call or click Grainger.com to see for yourself. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
At Robert Half, we know finding the right employees is a job in itself, and it's a job we love. You see, Robert Half isn't just a staffing firm. We're people. People who believe in finding the right people to fit your company's needs. Because employees who are a good fit are more productive, more engaged. Finding a great candidate isn't easy, but at Robert Half, we know it's possible. Robert Half, the experts in accounting, finance, IT, legal, marketing, and administrative staffing. Learn more at roberthalf.com/radio.
Hello, this is Deputy Sheriff Paul Schrader. When principle, leadership, experience matters, Mike Safety is your first choice for Redland City Council and first on the ballot. I've known Mike Safety for years. He's a business owner, family man, and your first choice for Redland City Council.
When it comes to public or private service, Mike Safety has the experience in both worlds. Mike Safety has been a CEO for 20 years, owned a small business, employed dozens of people, and serves in key supervising roles for public safety and special investigations for the county. Mike's assisted in $80 million transportation and $110 million flood control budgets. Mike's a longtime community activist, contributes to our community of Redlands. Mike Safety is your first choice for Redlands City Council on the ballot.
I'm Mike Safety, and I approve this message.
California headline news. Authorities have been continuing to look for the person who opened fire at a detox facility in San Rafael this morning, leaving 1 dead and 2 injured.
The suspect, the area was checked by deputies along with help from the CHP helicopter. The suspect fled the scene. The area is now secure. There's no immediate danger, so we don't have anybody in custody at this time.
Sergeant Michael Bravelli with the Marin County Sheriff's Office saying there's no clear motive for the deadly incident. Police in Claremont say they've charged a woman in the apparently intentional incident in which the suspect crossed into opposing traffic to run over a bicyclist who was killed.
The vehicle was traveling southbound with a complete, skids that we found at the scene shows a direct line right into the bicyclist.
Police Lieutenant Eric Huizar says they don't think the suspect and the victim knew each other. The suspect held on $2 million bail. A man on the loose after shooting another man to death at a wedding reception outside Fresno. Shots sending dozens of people running for their lives. Not immediately known what the motive was. Jeff Scott, California News.
So much to watch, so little time for sports fans in the fall.
It's this week's Geico Sports Now.
I can't believe the weekend went by so fast. It's hard to prioritize college football on Saturday, the pros on Sunday, then you throw in hockey and basketball, and it seems like sports fans need an extra day off, which means honey-do lists all across the country are collecting dust hanging on the fridge this time of year. And ain't nobody got time for that.
Geico could assist you in saving lots of money on your car insurance. Go right now to geico.com for all the details.
You're home after a long day, preparing dinner when...
Ew! What's that? It smells like rotten eggs.
That might be a natural gas leak.
It can't be. We don't have any natural gas appliances.
Even if you don't use natural gas, that rotten egg odor could be a sign of a leak in your neighborhood. Because gas lines can be buried anywhere.
Shut up.
No, speak up. If you ever suspect a leak, leave immediately and call 911 and Southwest Gas.
Thanks, deep voice narrator.
You're very welcome.
The following message is brought to you by the baby boomer generation, or rather the people who vote every 2 years. Here they are.
Dear young people,
don't vote.
Don't vote.
Everything's fine the way it is.
Tax cuts for the rich? Hell yeah.
Climate change? That's a you problem. I'll be dead soon. Sure, school shootings are sad.
But I haven't been in a school for 50 years.
I can't keep track of which lives matter.
Sure you don't like it. So, you'll like some meme on Instagram.
If the weather is nice, maybe you could go to one of those little marches.
You might even share this video on Facebook.
But you won't vote.
You young people never do.
But I do. I do.
I do.
Midterms, primaries.
Every single election.
We'll be there, but you won't.
Because we're a generation of doers.
Not whiners.
And we're doing great.
November 6th, you can change the world in 10 minutes. Not registered to vote? You can still vote provisionally now through Election Day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 777 West Rialto Boulevard in San Bernardino. For more info, Google SB County Elections. Vote for your friends. Vote for your family. Vote for the ones you love. Vote for those before you and in the future. Vote for all those who gave their lives on the battlefields or on 9/11. Every vote counts. It's up to you. Not a paid political advertisement. Just vote.
KCAA, where every day is a great day.
KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 and 102.3 FM. I'm Mark Westwood. Good to be on the radio with you. And good to be here with my good friend Ethan Oakes, first-time voter.
Hello, hello.
Just registered to vote. Hello,
Please
Ethan.
vote.
We'll be talking with Ethan in a minute. And, of course, we also have a good friend and chair of the Democratic Party, also former Sam the Eagle from the 1984 Olympics, Chris Robles. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Mark. You got to throw that in.
I
Thanks
always
a lot.
do, because I just picture you in that Eagles outfit as the official mascot of the 1984 Olympics. That is such a claim to fame that I would never not introduce you without saying that. So,
well, thank you.
Chris is chair of the Democratic Party in San Bernardino County. I called him on today because, of course, we are right in the midst, approaching the runway, getting ready to land another election here. The midterms, 2018, and boy, what an election this is turning out to be. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. We're going to talk about a variety of things. I don't know which to talk about first, whether it's Donald Trump's race-baiting ad that got yanked by Fox News, of all people, Facebook, NBC Universal, about the suppression of the votes, about Trump's economy, or we talk about local candidates and local things. Which would you like to do first? Chris?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes,
hey,
I'm asking you.
You know, as interesting as the national politics are, really, you know, our county party is focused on the local elections.
Right.
So I always like to talk about that. We have some wonderful Democrats who are running for school board, water board, and city councils throughout San Bernardino County. And if you want to know who the official, I'm going to get this plug in, Mark. If you want to know who your official democratically endorsed candidates are, it's real simple. Go to this domain, vote.sbcdp.org. And the SBCDP stands for San Bernardino County Democratic Party. So it's vote.sbcdp.org. And on there you can enter your home address. That's very private. And up pops the endorsed candidates from the state party and the county party, all the way down to the city council elections and city clerks, whoever happens to be there that's been endorsed. And ballot measures, too, Mark. We did ballot measures, too.
And you also have another website, too. And if you're going down the road, you can listen to this program later on a podcast or on YouTube. And you can listen back to this, or you can call us at KCAA, and we'll tell you again, SanBernardinoDemocrats.org, SanBernardinoDemocrats.org as well, has a full list of all the county candidates and all the the governor's race candidates and the state candidates and things like that. So
everything. And it's on our Facebook page, yeah. Yep.
So you've been working hard, and I know you're a busy guy, and thank you for having us.
I'm doing a robocall right now for a client.
Wow,
people are still getting those out, blast emails. It's been an interesting election cycle, yes.
We also have Ethan Oakes here, who works at KCAA, and this is his first election.
Yes, hello.
And he's excited to hear about all this stuff, so we're going to tell him all about it because he's voting today. He's got his ballot, and we're going to the mailbox today. And I'm not going to do any arm twisting. I'm going to let him make up his own mind. But, let's start with the state candidates, first of all. We have an awesome candidate for governor who is very qualified.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's so personable. He's approachable, and he's just an all-around good guy.
Yeah, I've met him several times.
And this is Gavin Newsom?
Yes.
Oh, brilliant.
Gavin is, we're very fortunate to have a candidate after Jerry Brown who's going to be so qualified. Jerry Brown was a very qualified governor because he was governor before. And, I think he's had 16 years now as the governor of California. That's unprecedented and won't ever happen again because of our Constitution in the state. So we're very fortunate of that. And then we haven't made an endorsement for lieutenant governor. And I won't press you to do that. I kind of favor Ed Hernandez myself. But as the party chair, you probably can you say who you're voting for? I guess you could.
Sure, why not? I actually know Ed.
Mm-hmm.
I've known him since he's an optometrist in the San Gabriel Valley, and he had an office in Baldwin Park.
Mm-hmm.
And when he first ran, he ran for the assembly seat. I don't remember what number it was. They've redistricted them those so many times. And he was just the nicest guy. And he went on to the Senate and is termed out, and so he decided to run for lieutenant governor. Just how things go. He was someone from Northern California decided to run, and she just happens to be very well funded with family money.
Yeah,
so it's,
Elena is very well funded.
Race.
But she's in Northern California, and us being from Southern California especially.
I tend to, if given a choice, I think somebody who's local, knows the needs of Southern California, is just better for us, I think.
And the State Democratic Party convention, there were so many people, plugging for either side, for Elena Kavastakis or Kunastakis. I can't even say her last name. And then Ed Hernandez, and so there was no consensus. Although he got more votes than she did, there was no consensus because you have to have...
you need a 60%.
Right.
I'm sorry, Mark.
Yeah. So, so there's the lieutenant governor's race, and then, of course, Secretary of State, Alex Padilla. That's an obvious one.
Who's already doing an excellent job. He's the reason that we have these early voting centers. The state is, we don't see it right now, but by 2020 there will be more uniformity and more options for voting early, so you don't have to wait on Election Day. You could actually go to a local center and vote anywhere in California. It's really kind of exciting. And he's also been implementing the online voter registration. He's just been excellent on that job, and I can't see anybody else doing that.
Right. I don't even know who's running against him on the ballot, to be honest with you. He's so popular.
It's somebody named Mark. Mark.
Is it really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't say the last name because we're not plugging him, but Alex Padilla.
And then, of course, Xavier Becerra, who replaced Kamala Harris, who's now a U.S. Senator.
And he pronounces it Javier.
Javier.
It's the X is a J in Spanish. Yeah, so Javier.
Javier.
And I knew him when he was in the assembly. He ran for a brand new congressional district. I happened to be, unfortunately, working on another Democratic candidate's campaign that was running against him. But he won, and he was excellent all these years in Congress. I actually was sad to see him leave Congress because he was so effective. But, he has a family, and he's from California, and that 3,000-mile, 3-hour time difference, it's a killer after a while.
He kind of jumped at it when Kamala Harris vacated the office because she got elected as United States Senator, and so he first got appointed by the governor of the state to fulfill that, and now he's running for the first time, doing pretty well, I guess. I think that's going to be a pretty predictable thing there.
Well, Yep, and he's taking on the Trump administration,
which we
has
love.
been for the last year or so. Yeah,
I do that all the time on my programs and on Facebook. There's so much as Trump provides so much material. Ricardo Lara from Long Beach, the first openly gay candidate to run for a state office. He was running for insurance commissioner.
I knew Ricardo. He worked for one of our speakers as a field deputy long ago, and honestly, I can't even remember which speaker that was. We've had so many with the term limits. There's so many now.
Seems like we get a
but
new
he's
speaker
very
every 2
experienced. Yeah, it does. But he's very experienced. Has been one of the top leaders in the assembly, and he's from Southern California, born and raised.
Now I was discussing. I was discussing with Ethan over here about a week ago. He says, "Is everyone male that's running for a statewide office?" Didn't you say that?
Yeah, exactly.
And what was my answer on that?
We have two females.
That's
Betty.
right. The ladies up next, they're from our L.A. area, right? Right, Chris? Running for
that's right.
State treasurer and state controller, and both very smart ladies. I have sung karaoke with Fiona Ma. And Ethan loves
and both of them.
Ethan loves to sing karaoke, so I just had to get that in there. Okay, go ahead.
Both of them, including Ricardo Lara and Alex Padilla, have all visited the Inland Empire, specifically San Bernardino. Even Gavin Newsom during the June primary election, they've all been out here. I speak to them on a fairly regular basis, and definitely talk to them at state conventions and state party events, and always talk about the Inland Empire. You know, we're important to the economy of the state.
Absolutely,
we're a major economic engine here with the airport and trucking. There's a lot going on here, and of course, we have some of the last affordable housing in California, where you could actually live here and still work in the greater Los Angeles area.
Yeah,
so
in the Inland Empire.
Very important.
You know, you go down to San
That's
Diego and you go up to L.A. and, you know, housing and rent is approaching some places $3,000. In Beverly Hills, I picked up a newspaper. It was a Beverly Hills newspaper. I was out in the area, and they had places for rent for $11,000 a month. I just about fell out of my chair. I was like, this is ridiculous. Which brings us to, before we say this, before we get to the propositions, because there's a rent control proposition I want to talk about. That's Prop 10. Betty Yee. I don't want to leave Betty Yee off the list of people we've mentioned here, because she's almost a local girl herself. Betty Yee is, I mean, Helen Doherty, if you ever knew that name and you were involved in Democratic politics in about 3 counties, you knew Helen Doherty. And Helen Doherty must be just jumping for joy up in heaven, rest her soul, that Betty Yee is on the ballot and running for controller. I can only imagine if she was alive right now, she would be full steam helping run Betty Yee's campaign. That's for sure. So, you know, on our website, we have the propositions listed. And so that's SanBernardinoDemocrats.org. And then, you know, we have I'm going to say it again, if you want a custom list of how you can vote for your representatives. What was that website, Chris?
Vote.sbcdp.org.
You just plug in your address, and it brings you up a custom list of our recommendations from the party on how to vote. And, of course, you can take that or leave that. But talking about the propositions, before we get into the whole thing, if you just want to listen to a real quick, short way to do this, the Democratic Party encourages everyone to vote yes on all the propositions except for 3. And those are 5, 6, and 11. And 5 and 6 makes 11, so that's an easy way to remember that. So let's delve in a little bit to the propositions, because there's a few that people are getting confused on, because big money has come into those propositions. One of them is Prop 10. And Prop 10, the one I thought they would really fight was Prop 6, but that hasn't had as much money as ones like Prop 8 or Prop 10. But Proposition 10 is California's rent control ballot measure. And It would just simply, I'm going to sum it up for our listeners, give cities the ability to expand rent control, including potentiality for more buildings. And it would do that by repealing something called the Costa-Hawkins Rental Housing Act, which was kind of a strange act that got passed years ago, some 20 years ago, that said any building before 1978 can qualify for rent control, but after that, no other buildings can qualify for rent control. And it's just kind of shackled renters. And so who would be putting a lot of money into the no on 10? Who would you think, Chris?
The real estate agents.
The real estate agencies, the property owners, we have a show called Del Walmsley, and one of our clients is Del Walmsley. He has a show Monday through Friday, and he's talked several times about this, and, this is such a terrible initiative. Well, because it's just like anything, like the gun control advocates, the NRA, who want, no gun control whatsoever. It's because it might impede their ability to make a buck. The cities are right now not allowed to apply for rent control to units before February of 1995. They can't even apply for it. And cities that already had rent control in the books when Costa-Hawkins was passed, the cutoff is backdated to 1978. In the LA area, the dates are even earlier. And Santa Monica, July 1st, 1979. So, who's behind it? Well, it was drafted by three people, including Michael Weinstein, president of the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, which is an interesting one because who would need health care? Who would need low rent? Who would need rent control more than anybody afflicted with a disease like HIV or AIDS? So, and then, it's a nonprofit. He's made a foray into housing, homeless, and development issues. So people who are supporting what? Homeless people who are trying to find homeless people housing in this real estate boom where they do house flipping and make money as fast as they can on selling houses, which is lowered the housing options. Thank you. Ethan's helping me out here, innumerably, and then made it, made the rental housing be more in demand, and it's gone through the roof. So that's kind of why, there's a Prop 10, and who's backing, who's against it. But we recommend you vote yes on Prop 10. Prop 10 is an interesting one. Then there's Prop 8, which has had all kinds of information back and forth. And that's the one about kidney dialysis. Now, do you know, you want to add anything to that about Prop 8, Chris, or what's your views on Prop 8?
I'm not fully up on Prop 8. Mm-hmm. I do know that whatever information is out there is not the complete story, and it's very misleading and confusing.
Well, what they're saying is it requires dialysis clinics to improve patient care, update equipment, and provide safe and clean facilities. Because a lot of dialysis healthcare is done separate from hospitals. It's done separate from doctors, separate. They're kind of their own entity unto themselves. They're kind of privatized. And, of course, there's been no real regulation on them. And apparently there's been some fatalities that were needless because of, careless upkeep of equipment, not replacing equipment, just generally being careless. And so this law addresses that. And, of course, the people who... yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to clarify when I say confusing, I mean the no people. I didn't mean the yes people. The no people have been confusing the issue on the dialysis. Yeah. And they're the ones with the deep pockets. Mm-hmm. The yes people haven't. I really haven't seen too much from them.
Yeah, and they were the ones with deep pockets, and so this one might be one I predict is going to go down, unfortunately, and they're going to have to come back at another swing on it. But it's interesting because it's something that's really needed. Dialysis patient care is considered to be in crisis, and it's driving up costs to all Californians because of its privatization. Dialysis corporations like DaVita and Fresenius dominate the industry, and they make a combined $3.9 billion. $3.9 billion a year. So, of course, they want to protect that. And, of course, they're putting out all kinds of ads that, with dialysis patients that are saying, no, you're going to drive the cost of dialysis up and blah, blah. Well, most people have dialysis. It's covered by insurance. But besides that, it's not going to drive the cost up because they're privatized. And the argument goes, oh, privatized, then there's competition. And if there's competition, then you go with the fact that they're going to have to compete with each other, and therefore they won't drive the price up too much. So, that's kind of an argument, that their own argument you can use against them. And the propositions, the other ones are, a lot of bonds, a lot of funding things, $2 million for seriously ill or injured kids a year, regardless of family income. That's Proposition 4. Who would turn that down, right?
Right.
Proposition 2 delivers housing with mental health services to alleviate chronic homelessness without raising taxes. That's a good one. They don't raise taxes. They use the funding that's already there. They just reappropriate it, and that's a good thing. Proposition 1 creates affordable housing for vets, working families, disabled seniors, homeless. Those are just all very, got to get the logistics in place, got to get it going. So those are the propositions. Again, the Democratic Party recommendation is vote yes on all propositions except for 5, 6, and 11, which you vote no on. So that brings us to some local candidates and some local people. And first of all, we could start with our, not so local, United States Senate, which affects us all, because in the state of California, we have 2 senators. Each state gets 2 senators. Currently, we have Kamala Harris, who's not up for election. They're 6-year terms. And she just got elected, is it 2 years ago now, Chris?
Yes.
About 2 years.
2016. Mm-hmm.
And then you have Senator Dianne Feinstein, who is the senior ranking United States Senator, not only in California, but pretty much in the United States. Is she one of the oldest senators we have?
Yes, she's senior. And, there was a lot being made about her age, almost this ageism thing. But, there needs to be a fundamental understanding of how at least our federal system works. And in both the House and the Senate, I worked on the House side a while ago. Mm-hmm. Seniority makes all the difference. And in the past, California had junior senators compared to some of the other states. So a lot of the control over funding and the direction in the Senate was, at least at one point, thank God, it was Ted Kennedy, who always had a soft spot for California. But when it switches to the Republican side, California isn't always treated very well. Mm-hmm. And you can see that in this current administration. So the point of all of this is seniority matters. The fact that Dianne Feinstein not only has been there and has the seniority to have influence in the Senate, the U.S. Senate, she also has that deep personal understanding of how the Senate works and relationships with the other 99 senators. You cannot replace that. If she wasn't running on her own merit, then okay. But she has that experience that just no one else has. However, officially, our party has endorsed Kevin De Leon.
Which is an interesting thing how that happened, and maybe you can explain it to me how it happened. Because at the state convention, there was no consensus, no endorsement. And by the way, then we had the primary after that. And in the primary, she had like 31 opponents on the ballot. It was a crazy, ridiculous list. And she got like 41% of the votes, the top vote receiver. And then all of a sudden we went back to a state e-board, and somehow or other it came out of the e-board that the party endorsed Kevin De Leon, which, by the way, I want to do a little disclaimer. I know Kevin De Leon, too. He's a good guy. I like him. He will be a fine U.S. Senator someday, but not now, I don't think. I don't think it's his time. But how did that happen? Can you tell me how that happened?
Well, part of it is this crazy top 2 primary system. The party had to change its rules for endorsement. It used to be we would endorse, there would be the normal primary, and it would be, if you were a Democrat, you would get a Democratic ballot. And only Democrats would appear on it. And then Democrats could vote directly for who the endorsed candidate would be at that point. So we would endorse for the the primary, and then the primary would give us our general election candidate because the voters decided. Right. It was great. And then they Mickey Moused with it and changed it. Now there's this top two primary, which means you can have two Dems running, which we have in this case. Sometimes you can have two Republicans running. So in this case, we had two Democrats running. Well, in that case, the party has to identify for the voters which candidate they're supporting. So it falls to, according to our rules, it falls to the executive board of the state party because of timing. There's no time to pull together another convention, so it falls to the executive board. Mm-hmm. But the executive board, it's a tighter group of people, more active people like you, Mark, because you're an executive board member. Me, I'm an executive board member. I've been a member of the party, actively involved at the state party level and the county party level since I was 22. Mm-hmm. So you get people like that, and it's just a smaller group.
Actually, I'm a former executive board member. I'm not an executive board member at the moment, but yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get you back. You were an excellent when you were an excellent board member.
Thank you.
You always attend to the meeting. You're welcome. But that is how it happened, and so you have a different group, group that made the decision, and it's still a 60% threshold. But Dianne Feinstein, even in the 90s when she first got elected, and I remember that, and I was in the party at the time. She never had a strong party presence, and some people like that.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess. Yeah, some people do like that kind of nonpartisan, partisan. I don't know, but she's really. I mean, if you saw her, she's still very alert, very astute. During the Kavanaugh hearings, she was mopping the floor with Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court justice nominee, who is supposed to be this learned, doctored, very smart, articulate, legal person, and she was just mopping the floor with him. A lot of people may recognize the name, but I remember her from her early contributions as being president of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors and a good friend of an LGBT icon named Harvey Milk, who was assassinated because he was gay.
Oh, yes.
And in the movie, you see Dianne Feinstein crying on the steps. She was right there. She was right there on the steps of San Francisco City Hall when he was assassinated. And it goes on down through all of her years. And, this woman needs a book written about her. I'm sure it will happen at some point. But she has been a pretty good warrior and has definitely earned the right to be reelected for another 6 years. And, at some point or another, I'm sure she'll step down and retire after her term or whenever. And then Kevin DeLeon, I encourage you to run. Let's go down through our congressional members here real quick because we only have about 30 minutes. First of all, the 8th Congressional District, we don't have a candidate there. We could go on hours about that.
There's a good article in the Sun and the Press Telegram discussing what happened in CD8.
Right.
It was Republican dirty tricks.
Was it?
You go ahead, Mark. You know it well.
I know this one well because I live in the 8th CD, and I had a little run around with this woman, and not in a good way because I was protesting her running. It was Rita Ramirez Dean. She'd run, and she'd been a spoiler in the 31st Congressional District against Pete Aguilar, who's the current incumbent right now. She's been a spoiler now in the 8th Congressional District where she put her name on the ballot because of her surname, because her name was on the ballot. It gave the Republicans the opportunity to thrust her forward by using their own money to campaign for a Democrat to make sure that the real Democrat who was running a real campaign, who raised real money, who was running a real campaign, didn't get in, and she lost by about 1,300 votes. That was Marge Doyle, when in fact, Rita never runs a campaign. She never really fundraises. She just puts her name on the ballot and plays what I call ballot lotto. The problem with that is that when you play ballot lotto and you're not a qualified candidate and you're really not serious, and you just hope you'll win by some chance, this is what happens. We wind up with no choice. Democrats wind up with no choice on the ballot in the 8th congressional district. It happened in the 31st before the same woman, and that woman is now running for Victorville City Council, and I wouldn't endorse her. I wouldn't vote for her. I'm telling you, she's so unqualified for anything. Let me get this off my chest. She's cost our party, I estimate, about $2.8 million in fielding candidates that don't get in because she runs in and becomes a spoiler, and she claims she's the great Latina Democrat when she just needs to step down. She's like almost 80 years old. But anyway, okay. I'll deep breath, Mark. We'll go on there. We'll be positive from this point on. Up next we have out in the 27th Congressional District, Judy Chu. Judy Chu is running a good campaign. She has been elected before. Judy Chu held some other offices, and I'm trying to remember. Wasn't she?
She was in the Senate and the Assembly.
Right, she was in the Senate and the Assembly.
Yeah, she's from the San Gabriel Valley, the west end of the San Gabriel Valley, Monterey Park, and Alhambra area.
Yeah. In the 31st Congressional District, we have former Redlands City Council member and Redlands mayor, and now a two-term incumbent in the United States Congress in the 31st Congressional District, Pete Aguilar, which we mentioned just a moment ago.
Mm-hmm. We're quite proud of Pete. Pete has been a strong representative for a big chunk of our county, and he's just been outstanding. And he's kind of like the new Javier Becerra from my estimation. Young, strong advocate for the needs of his constituents and the needs of the Inland Empire as a whole. Even specifically San Bernardino always, but it's the Inland Empire as a whole, because we're
running a good race, and is running it from
right.
the operating engineers headquarters out in Redlands, and he's going to have a pretty good chance of defeating Sean Flynn, who's running as Republican, against him. Out in the 5th Congressional District, who's running, Ethan?
Norma Torres.
Norma Torres. I had to have him say that.
She's a candidate.
You're getting involved a little bit here, because this is his first time on the radio and the first time voting. So this is a big thing for him. Tell us about the 35th Congressional District, because she's a friend of mine, but I'm sure she's a friend of yours. Tell us about Norma Torres and a little bit of her background.
Oh, absolutely. And she's my representative. So, Norma, again, another outstanding Democrat, outstanding leader, and outstanding representative in Congress for us. She really, really does understand the area she represents, because she started out as a city council member, became mayor of the city of Pomona, moved on to the Assembly, moved on to the Senate, and is now in Congress. She understands all levels of government and understands the needs of all her constituents at all those different levels.
And I want to tell you, Ethan, how she got her start. Very humble start. She was a dispatcher for paramedic companies. Is that correct? Yeah.
911.
911.
She's a 911 dispatcher.
911 dispatcher. And then she served with a guy named Freddie Rodriguez, who we'll mention in just a little while. Freddie Rodriguez is the current state assembly member for that area, too. And he was also a 911 dispatcher. And then, this is kind of neat, in the 39th Congressional District, this guy, his name is Gil Cisneros, and he's got a pretty good chance of winning, and they're really trying to run a campaign against him now. They're paying attention, but Gil came to us with his own funding, and that funding was, what was it, Chris? Lotto winnings?
He was a lottery winner.
He won the lottery.
Wow.
He won the lottery, and he decided he'd make a difference.
But he was in the military. He served our country, and he just happened to be very lucky. And then he used his winnings not just to travel the world or spend it all away, which often happens. We hear those stories. No, instead, he and his wife have been giving money away.
Mm-hmm.
They've been supporting nonprofits and foundations in their community. So he's just a really good guy.
President Obama came to campaign for him.
Yes, it is based in Orange County. We have a sliver, but but all-important sliver in Chino Hills.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the 39th.
39th Congressional District, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And go ahead. Go ahead.
And then we get to some of our Senate district campaigns. We got a lady out in the Senate in the 16th. She's running out in Needles. We wish her the best of luck, Ruth Musser-Lopez. And then on the 29th, we have California State Senate Connie Leyva, who's our current senator.
Yes.
With her office in San Bernardino.
Again, she's my representative.
And it's a big Senate district, and her office is actually in San Bernardino, in downtown San Bernardino, so that's an important thing. Another Assembly candidate in the 33rd, wish her the best of luck, Socorro Cisneros. In the 36th, we have Steve Fox. In the 40th, we have a very remarkable race. He's a current county supervisor in the county of San Bernardino, and former tribal chief, president of the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians.
Wow.
Owns a couple of businesses here, and he decided to jump in this race, and all the Republicans ran the other direction, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody with any brains did. They declared the seat.
You cannot.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to say you cannot meet a nicer guy.
Yeah.
He is just, he comes from humble beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever have the opportunity to meet him, and hopefully there isn't a large group of people, and you have an opportunity to talk to him one-on-one, he has a really compelling story.
Yes.
A very compelling story.
James Ramos, a very compelling story. Went to San Bernardino Valley College, went to Cal State San Bernardino, grew up on the reservation. Just a local boy makes good and has given back to the community. The San Manuel tribe does. The minute that he jumped in the race, no kidding, the current state assembly member, Mark Steinnorth, decided to run for county supervisor, got out of the race. And all over the state they declared the 40th Assembly District a safe seat, not only just because he has a lot of money, he's well known, he's well respected, but because he is well respected by people from all walks of life, including both parties. So he's one of those kind of almost Dianne Feinstein kind of local candidates that people vote across the aisle for. So we'll probably see a new Democrat for the very first time. That used to be the 63rd Assembly District. I ran in that assembly seat back when it was glowing purple, not quite purple yet. It's finally a little blue, but not blue enough yet. But with a candidate like James Ramos, I think we're going to take that one. Out in the 41st Congressional District, that's a state assembly member. Is that your state assembly member, Chris Holden?
No. Actually, it's the Upland area.
Mm-hmm.
It's along the foothills. But he's another one of those elected officials who had to start at the city council in Pasadena and got to understand the needs, again, of the community and how to get things accomplished in government. And he moved on to the assembly. He's been an outstanding leader there. Mm-hmm. And even though he only has part of our county, we have always been able to count on him for support on issues and his constituents in the Upland area and along the foothills have always been well represented.
Yes.
So we're happy to always be supporting him because he's always supporting us.
I think he's running for his last term, but good luck, Chris, and I think he'll probably get that. And then in the 42nd, out of the blue, now the 42nd crosses county lines. It's both in Riverside County and in San Bernardino County, but mostly in Riverside County. And out of the blue, I heard about this lady, I'm like, how do I pronounce her name? Denny Antoinette Manzingo. And Denny is a former United States Navy JAG lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Very sharp lady.
And her dog, Prince.
Yeah, and her dog, Prince, because she's been in the studio here. Everybody knows Prince, who's ever been around Denny. She's a dog lover, and she loves her dog, Prince. It's a little poodle terrier or something kind of mix.
Wiener dog, yeah.
Wiener dog. Cute dog.
Little cutie.
We've interviewed her here. She's very sharp. She's very personable. And she beat Chad Mays in the primary in the top two. She actually got more votes. It's going to be a tough race for her now because there's not any other Republicans running against Chad Mays. But she has a really decent chance. We might be surprised to see that one go Democrat. It's been Republican solid for a long time. And
absolutely.
Then, yeah, and
she again a very, very personable person, very approachable. would make an excellent representative for that area.
Yes, exactly. And then running unopposed in her second term for second chance is Eloise Gomez Reyes. I don't even think there's a Republican running against her. Is there anybody on the ballot against her? I don't think there is. So I think that's.
I'm not in that area, so
I don't think there is.
I can't say.
She didn't have one in the primary, and so
she's one of. This was her first elected office, but she comes to that office with a myriad of experience that has made her incredibly effective in Sacramento on behalf of her district, and she's always focusing on the needs of her district. Her district comes first.
And in the 52nd,
that's the kind of leader we need.
Yeah. And in the 52nd district, we have Freddie Rodriguez, who, again, we said is serving in the former seat of Norma Torres, who's United States Congress. He got elected last time around. Freddie's a good guy and is running a pretty good campaign out there. I think his chances are pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep. And again, he's my representative. And another person with an incredibly compelling story. If you give me a quick second, I'll say,
Sure.
he lived in a community in Pomona, a neighborhood, I should say, in Pomona, and the park was underutilized, and the equipment in the park it just wasn't being taken care of. So he went to City Hall, and he said, "What can we do about it?" And that's how we got engaged in. And then Norma Torres said, "You know what? You should run for city council." So he did, and he won, and he was effective there. I love these stories where it's the old Mr. Smith goes to Washington type of story, where people get involved in their community and they come from humble beginnings, and then they become great leaders for us in both Sacramento and in Washington. Mm-hmm. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be.
And, of course, we have all kinds of local candidates running for school boards and mayor and, town council. And there's so many of them, again, that we can't get to all of them. I'm going to pick some really kind of stellar superstars, in my opinion, real quick, and we'll talk about them and encourage you to vote for them if you're in those areas, from Adelanto all the way out to Apple Valley to Victorville to San Bernardino. We've got Water District, Chino Valley. Just so many that we could talk about. Go to sanbernardinodemocrats.org to see all the candidates. The problem with the Democratic Party is we've got so many qualified candidates running and so well known, and the party is very dominant in California. It's hard to talk about them even in 1 hour, and we've been going at it for a solid hour here almost, and we've got about maybe 12 minutes.
Go to vote.sbcdp.org, and you can see your list of endorsed candidates in your area.
So I'm going to talk about Fontana a little bit because that's got a lot of Democratic candidates out there. Currently, we have Aquanetta Warren, who's the current mayor. She advertises on our station. But we also have Jesse Sandoval, who's endorsed by the Democratic Party and is a former city council, not a former, he's a current city council member out in Fontana running. And so we recommend him. The Democratic Party does. And, of course, on my show, this is about the Democratic Party. I make no bones about it because there's many conservative talk shows, so we just do the all-out liberal talk show here, a Democratic talk show. I'm actually kind of middle of the road. And then other candidates I'd like to mention, Kristen Washington. Kristen's such a great lady. Running for Redlands Unified School District member, Area 2. I thoroughly encourage everybody to vote for Kristen. She's a great person. Donald Singer, also out from the city of Redlands, but he's running for San Bernardino Community College District. Don Singer has been a very good board member, served very well, very kind man, very intellectual, very knowledgeable, very calm, cool, and collected. Kind of a good guy. You like him as soon as you meet him. I was so impressed with a lady I met from the city of Adelanto by the name of Stevana Evans. Did you meet Stevana by any chance, Chris?
No, I haven't. Tell me about her.
Well, she's just a very smart, intellectual person. During the interviews, which I was present for her endorsement, she came up with great answers to the endorsement questions. She was very articulate. She was very passionate. and very knowledgeable about the issues involving her community, which is a good thing. Out in Fontana, I don't want to miss Kareem Gongora. Now, this is an up-and-coming superstar. Pay attention to that name, Kareem Gongora. Kareem Gongora. He is going to be famous one day, and maybe a state senator or a Congress member or something, I believe. He's a good member. He's also president of the Fontana Democratic Club. What is Kareem running for now? No, he's running for a school board. He's running for school board.
School board.
I'm just kidding you. And he's also running alongside another person, Mary Sandoval. And Mary is the wife of Jesse Sandoval, the current council member who's running for mayor. So we got a husband and wife team running. Isn't that kind of cool? Hardy Brown for the County of San Bernardino Member Board of Education, Area D.
Hardy's excellent.
Yeah,
and
he's the second edition, by the way. There was a first edition, V1. That was Hardy Brown, his dad. This is V2, Hardy Brown Jr.
Ah,
yeah,
that's right.
And
his colleague Sherman Garnett is also on the Board of Education. And then going back to the Community College District, we're talking about Don Singer. Another colleague of his is Joseph Richardson Williams. Joseph Williams.
Good friend. I was going to get to that one too.
College. Oh, sorry for
no. Go for it. Go for it. No.
Yeah. He's been fantastic on that community college district, and that district is just it's well thought of throughout the state of California. People come and visit the San Bernardino Community College District to see what they're up to, and the kinds of programs that they offer the community.
And very involved.
Community colleges. Yeah.
Very involved and very accomplished, Joel Williams. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And then you can't get a more qualified member to run for the Chino member of the City Council, District 1, than Gloria Negrete McLeod. You want to fill the listeners in on who she is and what she's done in her lifetime?
Well, Gloria Negrete McLeod. Oh boy, she was on the Chaffee Community College District. She is right now.
Mm-hmm.
She was in the state assembly and the state senate.
Termed out both times.
And she had a short time in Congress, but she really felt the need to serve locally, and so she came back to her original seat in Chaffee. But now that they have council districts in Chino, and that's where she lives. She felt that she could make even a bigger difference at that city. And honestly, a lot of these cities have been, just a side note here, now that there are districts allowing new blood to come into these cities. For a long time, the stranglehold was the same old people from the same old groups and organizations controlling a lot of these cities, especially during the big construction boom from the 90s all the way up to present to 2008 when the bust came. And it was always a very elite group of people and unfortunately only Republicans who had control over all these cities and the growth of our communities. And yes, a lot of these communities are well done, but now we're at the point, I'm going to get on my soapbox, Mark. Now we're at the point where our cities are built, right?
Right.
Rancho Cucamonga, Ontario, Fontana, a lot of the areas where it was open space have been built. They're still open space, but we're at a critical moment where decisions can be made that will impact the people that are already living here. For instance, I happen to live very close to these warehouses that the City of Ontario council members authorized near neighborhoods. It was so inappropriate. Now we have trucks with their exhaust. We tried to fight this, but because there were not districts, we had no representative. I think you would find that any city in the past that was at large elections or still are at large elections like Ontario, you will find that all the representatives live within miles of each other.
Right.
They do not represent the vast size and directions, multiple directions of their cities. Right. So my area had no representative, and these warehouses were dumped on us. And that's why it's critical in
directly
a city like
right
Chino
across the
as
street
well.
From you. Yeah, I've seen it.
And that's why.
Yeah.
That's why having these districts means that you can have an actual representative, someone that comes from your local area. And so tying this all back to Chino finally has districts, and Gloria Negrete McLeod is running for one of those. So we're very excited.
Yeah, and out in Chino also,
in
the Chino Valley Unified School District member governing board, we've got two very qualified candidates. Don Bridge is coming back, hopefully, and then an up-and-coming superstar. She's a professor at the University of Irvine. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, Christine Gagnier, and I hope I said her name right. Christine Gagnier.
Gagnier. Don't look at it, just say it. If you looked at it, you'd mispronounce it, yeah.
Very sharp individual, teaching law students, and again, another qualified Democrat. We've got a veteran, Roger LaPlante, running for Town of Apple Valley member, City Council. We could just go down, Jesse Sandoval running for Fontana mayor. We've got so many people. Sam Crow. Talk about a dedicated individual. I don't want to leave him off, and it's probably going to be the last candidate we talk about before we wrap up this program because we're almost over. Sam Crow, oh my gosh, grew up in Ontario City Council member, termed himself out because he said he should only serve 2 terms, was on the school district, served 2 terms. It's just all about Ontario.
He was the city attorney. But before we go, I want to plug for Lionel Dew, a really outstanding fellow who's very community-oriented fellow who just gives back, and he was in the military. He's a veteran as well. City of Victorville, go for Lionel Dew. Vote for Lionel Dew. He's our one and only endorsed candidate up there.
Yep, one and only endorsed candidate. And no, that's all right.
Get him in there.
That's all right. Lionel Dew, I encourage you to vote twice for him and not for Rita. I'm going to do that every time I get a chance. Anyway, yes, go ahead.
One last one. Dan Flores, outstanding school board member at the Colton Joint Unified School District. I got to say something about him, too.
Yeah.
Now, Dan Flores, Colton. He's an incumbent.
Yeah, I'm going to invite you back, Chris. I'm going to invite you back tomorrow because we have live election coverage starting at 6 p.m., also at 8 p.m., and we'll have throughout the day. We'll have bulletins and updates. But when the polls close on the East Coast, we're going to be right there, starting to report the national races. This is an election on Donald Trump as well, even though he's not on the ballot. We're hoping that we put this man in check, and it's time for that to happen. And hopefully, the good people of the United States decide to do that. And we're going to be watching carefully with along with Andrew Caravella, and we're going to have the California updates as well. We're going to be covering it live on 4 radio stations, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, 102.3 FM, and also on KQLH 92.5 FM, all simultaneously, 4 radio stations, election night coverage. Thank you to Chris Robles, who's the current chair, second term, for the County of San Bernardino Democratic Party. It's been a delight having you on. You gave us great...
Yes, you gave me very good information.
And standing by right here is Ethan.
That.
I will vote very soon now with confidence.
Ethan, I'm so glad that you were on the show, and never forget your first time voting. I don't forget. And unfortunately, I couldn't take a selfie back in the Stone Age when I first voted in the 80s. So take a selfie of your first time voting and keep it forever.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
And all across the nation, there's a lot of people like Ethan. Ethan is beyond 18. He's already out of high school for a few years, but this is his first time registered and his first time voting. He's taking it very seriously. He wants to help change the world and make it a better place, and that's what you do.
Be part of it.
You be part of it, and you vote, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what your age is, who you are. If you're eligible to vote, you need to get out and vote. Unless, of course, you want to see the current status quo, which I could go on to for about another hour or so. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you, Mark.
I'm Mark Westwood.
Thank you, Ethan.
For Politics on the Mark with Mark Westwood on KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 and 102.3 FM. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m.